I just finished Divine Rivals. No one told me about what happens at the end, so I will be immediately starting Ruthless Vows. Let's read it together. Hi, I'm Lacey. I love to read. Thanks for coming to my channel. I have dipped my toes into fantasy. I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, that whole series, and then I decided to read This Woven Kingdom. Loved it. I knew that I needed to eventually get to Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. I have been told to read this book so many times, but I heard it was amazing, and I honestly did not want to read it until I had time to really enjoy it. And I've been in a horrible book slump, and I'm finally getting out of it, so I knew it was time to read it. Oh my gosh. No one told me that this book was so good. And at first I thought it was magical. Actually, that's such a lie. So many people told me it was that good. No one told me that it ends on a cliffhanger. And if that's a spoiler, then I don't really know what to say, but it ends on a cliffhanger. There is a second book in the series. I didn't realize that I was going to have to read it immediately because it was that good and I needed to know what was going to happen. I did end up rating this 4.5 stars. We will talk about it in just a moment, but basically I wanted to make this video for Bookmas because I have a really fun time getting back into series that I sometimes forget about. This instance, I did not forget about it. I just didn't anticipate having to read the next book. I was going to finish my 10 before the end and then come back to Ruthless Vows eventually. That's not going to happen. I need to read it right now. So first, let's recap Divine Rivals, and then we will move into the vlog of me reading Ruthless Vows. Okay, so I am going to try to make this recap as spoiler-free as possible. However, because I'm reading the second book in a series, there is going to be some level of spoilers to this video because the second book leads off at a time that is pretty crazy. So, Divine Rivals is a beautiful, beautiful love story that also is incorporating a lot of themes of fantasy. I thought it was magical realism because I just thought that the part of it was sending letters back and forth and magically being able to get them to each other and back. However, there is a war going on and it is between the gods. However, the gods live among them, and so they're kind of having to decide which side to pick, Enva's side or Dacre's. Also, I don't know if his name is pronounced Dacre or Dacre. I honestly love Dacre better. Decree. I'm gonna call him Decree. Anyways, so Iris is the female main character, Roman is the male main character. Basically, Iris's brother decides to fight for Enva and leaves their family. Her mom kind of falls into addiction and she really needs to make a way for herself, and so she gets a job at the Oath Gazette. However, she's fighting against Roman to get this promotion, which is being a columnist. And in the meantime, she's writing a bunch of letters to her brother in the war, and they're ending up going to Roman. And so Roman ends up writing back, and then they form a bit of a connection. However, Roman knows it's Iris, but Iris doesn't know it's Roman. And over time, things happen, and she decides to go and become a part of the war in a way. And of course, he's not going to let her do that alone. And so that's what happens. They are facing parts of the war, and it's really, really beautiful, and it can be really intense at times. And it ends with, this is going to be a spoiler. It ends with Iris getting away from Dacre's forces. However, Roman does not. Roman becomes a part of his forces. And so he ends up being a war correspondent for Dacre instead of for Enva. And that is where this book leaves off. I immediately needed to pick up Ruthless Vows. And so I will tell you a little secret. I am like 100 pages in before I decided to make this video because truthfully, I just want to talk about Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. And I actually do think that there is really no way that this could be spoiler free. So tread lightly because this is not like a recommendation video. This is me reading it. I'm going to try my best to not spoil things, but overall things are going to get spoiled. So basically where this book starts is it's been 2 weeks and Iris is back with her brother in Oath, and she has no idea where Roman is. She doesn't even know if he's alive. And at the same time, Roman is with Dacre and he's like unsure of what's going on at all. He lost his memory in the process of being healed by him. And so he really doesn't know what's going on, but luckily Iris finds a way to get a magical typewriter so that they can talk to each other again. However, it's still not changing the fact that he does not remember her. And right now I am on page 104 and I'm about a fourth of the way through the book. There's about 400 pages. I can honestly get you the real number because I have the book in front of me. It's 417 pages. So I know that a lot is to come and I'm really excited, but basically in the first 100 pages, you're still just trying to figure out how much Roman knows, and he's starting to remember through dreams, and I don't know yet because I'm not there yet, but I feel like there's a way that Dacre is either like reading his mind or knows that if there's dreams are happening, then there's a chance that he's remembering, and that's probably where the memory comes back from, his dreams. And like, he knows somewhere in him that he shouldn't be telling Dacre everything, and he isn't at the moment, which is really great. He was stressing me out when he was going to give him the letter. If you know, you know. So I'm really happy about that. And Iris and Addie are back going to the front lines, and they are finally with Marisol again, which is amazing. And so that's where I'm at right now. I'm reading another book at the same time, and this book is just really hooking me the most. So I will come back to you when I have an update, but I'm really excited to do this video and to talk about Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. Please comment down below if you've read Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows, because I would love to talk about it more. And I'm just excited to continue reading this book and to share it with you. So I will see you at the next update. Okay, I think the last time I updated, I was like 100 something pages, and now I'm 322 pages in. So last night I was reading so much. I think I read like 200 pages. It's so good. It's honestly stressing me out though. Like the first book was all like romance and forbidden time to fall in love and workplace rivals and doing all these things for each other because they love each other so much and like finding each other. And now this book is like, how can they get back to each other, but there's also a war. And there was a war the last book, but the war has taken quite a turn in this book, and so it's just such different vibes. But I have some thoughts. I wrote them down because last night I was going, and then I couldn't find my camera. So I had to tell myself I will find it later, and then I fell asleep reading. So I love that in this book, it's like reverse. So in the first book, you know, she didn't know it was him and he knew it was her. And now she knows it's him, but he doesn't know it's her because he can't remember. And I love that. And I love that it was like they were falling for each other again. And then it was just stress, like so much stress. Like I was very stressed about the underworld and all his passages, and very stressed about the war and him being uncovered. Like literally throughout the book, like I would have a moment of peace and then I was like, oh, I'm stressed again. Because I know it's gonna end probably well, but I'm just nervous. Page 273, if you know, you know. My stomach dropped. I was so stressed. Like that was like the peak of my stress. And then it actually resolved really easily and really quickly, which was weird. But anyways, Forrest and Sarah. Also, her name, Prindle, makes me think of Sweet Life of Zack and Cody when he was like, not the Prindle, do you want M or Fum? And the Prindle, everything about the Prindle. So I always think about that when I see her name. It's so cute. And the time in the museum. I feel like I was almost bamboozled though, because I don't know how to feel about the museum guard. I can't really wink. I don't know how to feel about her because obviously I like her the best, but anyways, I am stressed. There are less than 100 pages left, and I am definitely gonna finish today after work, and so I will update you kind of like when anything big happens. But overall, I love this duology. It's very good. I can see why people liked the first book far more, especially if you're more into it for the romance, because it was like romance set in a fantasy world and war, versus I feel like this is war set with a romance subplot, because the war is like the most important part right now. So I totally understand that, but I don't think it's like bad. So I'm really excited. I'm gonna go back to reading this after work, and I will update you either when I finished or when something big happens. It's crazy. The ending is crazy. with my final update because I have finished Ruthless Vows and it was so good. Okay, let's just talk about what's happened since. So last time I talked, it wasn't kind of like the end of the end. The last like 80 pages is just about kind of like Daiqui's decision to kind of end this war in his own way. And honestly, if I'm butchering the name, you can tell me in the comments how I'm supposed to say it. But I had a teacher who said that if someone is mispronouncing words a lot, it often means they're a reader because they're reading it, but they might not be hearing it in context, so you're just kind of sounding it out the best you know how. So let's give people grace if they pronounce things wrong. So the war was basically going to end. It was very intense. Iris and Roman had a lot of stressful moments. When they went to the Underrealm, I was very stressed. And the timeline was confusing me of when they were supposed to go, so then I was stressed. Like I like to be on time, and so I was very stressed for them. And I couldn't tell if they were gonna be late or if bad things were gonna happen. So that was definitely stressful. I will say, I think I understand the kind of consensus from a lot of people who say the second book is not nearly as good as the first book. I personally think they're just as good, but I think that you also need to adjust your expectations because the first one is fully a romance with the backdrop of war, and this is the peak of everything happening, and then the aftermath when war is over. So the romance is already kind of there, and now the thing that's taking the biggest focus is how to end this war and how to get Roman and Iris back together. And so I think that that totally makes sense if that's the reason why other people didn't like this one as much. I personally rated it the same as the first book, 4.5 stars, because I felt like it was well done, and because I knew the characters, I was really into figuring out how they were going to solve this problem. And obviously, like, a part of me knows it's going to end well because this is the second book. There's only 2 books. It's going to all be wrapped up in the end. But overall, I really liked it, and I definitely would read another book by Rebecca Ross. I think she has a new one out. I think it's called Wild Reverence. So I'll pick that up eventually, probably in 2026. But for now, I really, really enjoyed this book, and I think it was just a really well done and interesting duology, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm glad I kind of picked up the camera because I want to talk to people about it. So if you've read this, please comment down below and talk to me about it, or find my Instagram and go my DMs, because I love the writing style and I loved the letters. And obviously, like, the romance in this second book was lacking because other things were taking precedent. Obviously the first one, like, romance wise, was just beautiful and amazing, and this one was definitely more intense and more like suspenseful. And so I think that's something to keep in mind, but it makes sense because of where the first book ended, so you had to kind of go through this war. I do wish there was a little bit more time in the end to like see the aftermath and like the love of Iris and Roman, because it did kind of only give them one chapter or 1 or 2 chapters to kind of like see how they ended up after. I would have loved a chapter for Tobias and Addie, Forrest and Sarah. But so good. Yeah, this book was beautiful, and the series is beautiful, the duology is beautiful, and I just really enjoyed it. So thank you so much for coming along for me to continue the series and to finish it off. I really appreciate you being here and watching my videos. I really appreciate you coming to watch my version of Bookmas, and I hope that the books that you read bring you joy.